My husband's mom told me to end my pregnancy so her daughter could shine first. You need to have an abortion, Eliza. Excuse me? What did you just say to me? You heard me. My daughter has been trying for 3 years. 3 years. And you waltz in here, married to my son for barely a year, and get pregnant immediately. Nora, you can't be serious. Bianca deserves to be the first one to give me a grandchild. She's my blood. You're nobody. So, fix this problem. Before we go any further, I'd love to know, where in the world are you watching from? Drop your location in the comments below. I love seeing how far this little story can travel. Let's make this space feel a little more connected, no matter how many miles are between us. Hi, I'm Eliza. Today, I'm going to tell you my story. When I met Callum at a medical conference, I thought I'd hit the jackpot. He was charming, successful, and came from what seemed like a close-knit family. His mother, Nora, was a retired nurse. His sister Bianca was a real estate agent. And everyone seemed so welcoming at first. Even his ex-girlfriend Lana, who'd remained part of the family, was friendly during our initial meetings. Eliza's a pediatric surgeon, Callum announced proudly at our first family dinner together. She's brilliant. How nice, Nora had said, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. Though I do hope you won't be one of those career women who puts work above family. I laughed it off then. I should have paid attention. The red flags started appearing after our engagement. Nora would constantly bring up Lana during wedding planning. Lana had such excellent taste, she'd sigh, looking at my venue choices. She wanted a church wedding, of course. So traditional. Mom, please, Callum would say weakly. What? I'm just saying Lana understood family values. My maid of honor, Harper, pulled me aside after one particularly tense planning session. Girl, why is his ex still coming to family dinners? They dated for 6 years. Nora considers her like a daughter. And that doesn't bother you? It did, but I was trying to be the bigger person. That was my first mistake. The wedding went beautifully despite Nora insisting Lana be invited. But the real issue started when Bianca announced she was trying for a baby with her husband, Owen. Finally, Nora had exclaimed at Sunday dinner. My first grandchild. I've been waiting for this moment my whole life. That's wonderful, Bianca, I said genuinely. I liked my sister-in-law, even if she was a bit intense about competing with everyone. Months passed. Bianca's pregnancy journey became the family's primary focus. Nora created vision boards, bought fertility crystals, scheduled appointments with specialists. Every dinner conversation revolved around ovulation cycles and baby names. Don't worry, Bianca assured me one day when we were alone. Once I'm pregnant, Mom will calm down. But she didn't get pregnant. Not after 6 months, not after a year. The family dinners became increasingly tense with Nora interrogating Bianca about her diet, stress levels, and whether she was trying hard enough. Meanwhile, Callum and I were settling into married life. We decided to wait a bit before having kids, wanting to establish ourselves first. I was up for a promotion to head of pediatric surgery, and Callum was launching his own practice. Then one morning, everything changed. I stared at the 2 pink lines on the pregnancy test, my hands shaking. We hadn't been trying. I was on birth control, but apparently that antibiotic I'd taken for strep throat had other plans. Babe? Callum found me sitting on the bathroom floor. What's wrong? I showed him the test. His face went through several emotions before settling on joy. We're having a baby. He pulled me into his arms. This is incredible. But what about Bianca? Your mom's going to. Hey, no. This is our moment. Mom will be thrilled. A grandchild is a grandchild, right? Wrong. So very wrong. We decided to wait until I was past the first trimester to tell anyone. But at 8 weeks, severe morning sickness gave me away. I barely made it through Nora's pot roast before running to the bathroom. Eliza's been feeling under the weather, Callum explained when I returned to find everyone staring. Nora's eyes narrowed. You're pregnant. It wasn't a question. The table went silent. Bianca's fork clattered to her plate. Mom? Callum started. You're pregnant. Bianca's voice cracked. How long? 8 weeks, I admitted quietly. The explosion was immediate. Bianca burst into tears and ran from the room. Owen chased after her. Nora sat there, her face turning an alarming shade of purple. "How dare you," she hissed. "Mom," Callum protested. "We didn't plan. Get out. Both of you. Get out." We left in shocked silence. In the car, Callum kept apologizing. "She's just surprised. She'll come around." But she didn't. For 2 weeks, radio silence. Then came the phone call that changed everything. "We need to talk." Nora's voice was cold. "Just you and me, Eliza. Tomorrow. 2 p.m. At my house?" "I don't think. If you care about this family at all, you'll be there." Against my better judgment, I went. Callum was in surgery, and I thought maybe, just maybe, I could smooth things over. Another mistake. I don't know why, but something in me said to record the meeting. It wasn't part of a plan. I wasn't even thinking that clearly. But as I sat in the car outside her house, hands trembling on the steering wheel, a voice inside whispered, "You need to protect yourself." So I opened the voice recorder on my phone, slipped it into my bag, and walked to the door, heart pounding, every instinct on high alert. Nora answered the door dressed impeccably, her expression arctic. "Come in." The house felt different without the usual family chaos. Nora led me to the living room, where Lana sat waiting. "What's she doing here?" I asked. "Lana is family," Nora said simply. "She understands what's best for everyone, unlike you." "Nora, I think there's been a misunderstanding." "The only misunderstanding," she interrupted, "is you thinking you can upstage my daughter. Bianca has been trying for 3 years. She's spent thousands on treatments, cried herself to sleep every night. And you just waltz in and get pregnant without even trying. That's not my fault, is it?" Lana spoke up. "You knew the situation. Any considerate person would have been more careful." I stared at her. "Careful? I was on birth control. Which you obviously weren't taking properly," Nora snapped. Then she dropped the bomb. "You need to have an abortion, Eliza." The words hung in the air. I actually laughed, thinking it was some sick joke. "You're not serious." "I'm completely serious. My daughter deserves to be the first one to give me a grandchild. She's my blood. You're nobody. So fix this problem before it destroys our family." "You're insane." I stood up. "Absolutely insane." "Sit down," Nora commanded. "I'm not finished. If you don't take care of this, I'll make sure Callum understands what kind of person you really are. Lana's already told me about seeing you with that doctor from your hospital." "What doctor?" "I've never." "Dr. Ethan Park," Lana said with a smug smile. "You two looked very cozy at lunch last month." "He's my colleague. We were discussing a patient." "That's not how it looked," Nora said. "And it's not how Callum will see it when Lana reluctantly shares what she witnessed." She leaned in. "Plus, there are other things. Missing controlled substances from your department. Security footage that could be misinterpreted." My blood ran cold. My chest tightened. And for the first time in years, I felt actual fear. Not the sterile, focused fear of the operating room when a child's life hangs in the balance, but raw, soul-deep dread. These women weren't just threatening my marriage. They were threatening everything I'd worked for my entire career. My ability to provide for my unborn child. "You're threatening to frame me. I'm offering you a choice. End this pregnancy quietly or lose everything. Your marriage. Your career. Your reputation. I have connections at your hospital. One word from me." I stood on shaking legs, my hands instinctively moving to protect my still flat stomach. The room spun slightly, whether from morning sickness or shock, I couldn't tell. "I'm leaving." "Think about it," Nora called after me. "You have 1 week." I drove home in a daze, pulling over twice when the shaking got too bad. My mind raced through worst-case scenarios. Would anyone believe me? A respected retired nurse versus the younger woman who stole her son? By the time I got home, I was fighting full-blown panic. When Callum got back from surgery, I told him everything, the words tumbling out between sobs I couldn't control. His face went from disbelief to rage. "She said what?" "She wants me to terminate the pregnancy. She had Lana there, and they were threatening to, that's it." Callum grabbed his keys. "I'm going over there right now." Callum, no. Think about this. She's your mother. No mother would ask this. She's lost her mind. I waited, pacing our living room until he returned 2 hours later. The moment I saw his face, I knew it hadn't gone well. She looked me dead in the eyes, he said, voice hollow, and told me you were hormonal and imagining things. When I pushed, she said, if Eliza really heard what she thinks she heard, maybe it's because guilty people hear what they fear most. Then she asked if I'd noticed you'd been distant lately. Secretive. You don't believe her? Of course not. But Eliza, she's serious about making trouble. She showed me edited security footage. It does look compromising. Like you and Dr. Park were holding hands. I know you were probably just passing files. But she's golf buddies with the hospital board chair. She made it clear she'd use every connection she has. So what do? We protect ourselves, and we protect our baby. The next day, still fighting waves of anxiety that made my hands tremble, I called Harper. As a lawyer, she was exactly who I needed. They're trying to blackmail you into having an abortion, she repeated, incredulous. Okay, first things first, document everything. Save every text. Record every interaction. Second, we need to get ahead of this. Is there anyone at the hospital who can vouch for your meeting with Dr. Park? Actually, yes. We had a resident with us, Dr. Kim. We were discussing the case. Perfect. Get their statement. What about these missing meds? That's the thing, nothing's actually missing. But if someone with access wanted to make it look like something was. We need to talk to hospital security today. While Harper helped me build a defensive case, Callum confronted Bianca. To our surprise, she knew nothing about Nora's ultimatum. She told you to do what? Bianca was horrified. No. No way. I'm struggling, yes, but I would never. How could she think I'd want that? She said it was for you, Callum explained. So you could shine first. Bianca broke down. I can't do this anymore. The pressure, the constant watching. Do you know she times my ovulation? She shows up at our house with fertility smoothies. Owen's talking about leaving me because all I talk about is getting pregnant, and now this. It was a breakthrough we didn't expect. Bianca was as much a victim of Nora's obsession as we were. Things moved quickly after that. Harper helped me file a report with hospital security about potential tampering with controlled substance logs. Sure enough, they found someone had used an old access code, one that traced back to a former nurse who'd retired years ago. A nurse named Nora. She must have kept her codes from when she worked here, the security chief said. We're updating our system now. No actual medications were taken, but someone was definitely trying to create a false trail. Meanwhile, I met with Dr. Park and Dr. Kim, who provided written statements about our lunch meeting. It was about that complex case, Dr. Kim said. A 7-year-old with a rare heart condition. I remember because you were so passionate about finding a solution. You barely touched your food. You were so focused on the case files. Armed with evidence, Callum and I invited Nora to meet us at a neutral location, a quiet cafe downtown. Harper sat at a nearby table just in case. Nora arrived with Lana, of course. I hope you've come to your senses, she said primly. We have, Callum said, which is why we're giving you one chance to admit what you've done and apologize. I have no idea what you mean. I placed a folder on the table, my hands steady now despite the churning in my stomach. The hospital's security system logs show a history of login activity tied to your old access credentials, indicating that someone has been using them after your retirement. Statements from witnesses about my lunch with Dr. Park. And this, I pulled out my phone, a recording of our conversation at your house or account. Nora's face went white. Recording me without consent is illegal. Not in this state, Harper said, approaching our table. I'm Eliza's attorney. And what is illegal is blackmail, attempted fraud, and using unauthorized access to hospital systems. Lana tried to slip away, but Harper stopped her. I'd stay if I were you. Making false statements to support blackmail makes you an accomplice. She told me Eliza was cheating, Lana protested. I was trying to protect Callum. Really? Callum's voice was ice. Or were you hoping to get me back if my marriage fell apart? The truth came tumbling out. Lana had never gotten over Callum. She'd stayed close to the family, hoping he'd come back. When Nora approached her about protecting Callum from his cheating wife, she jumped at the chance. "I just wanted what we had back," Lana sobbed. "We were perfect together." "No," Callum said firmly. "We weren't. That's why we broke up. And this shows me I made the right choice." Nora remained defiant. "You can't prove anything. It's all circumstantial." "Maybe," Harper agreed. "But it's enough for a restraining order. And enough for the hospital to investigate whether you've been accessing their systems illegally. That's a federal crime, by the way." The bravado cracked. "You wouldn't dare. I'm his mother." "You stopped being my mother the day you threatened my wife and child," Callum said quietly. "We're done here." We left them there, Lana crying and Nora still sputtering threats, but her power was broken. The aftermath was messy, but cathartic. Nora tried to rally the family against us. But when Bianca revealed what had happened, opinions shifted fast. Owen was horrified that his mother-in-law had gone so far. "We're taking a break from trying," Bianca told us a week later. "Maybe even from this whole family. I need to figure out who I am without my mother's voice in my head." She and Owen started therapy. Without Nora's constant pressure, their marriage began to heal. Bianca even threw me a beautiful baby shower, small and intimate, without a trace of resentment. "I'm going to be the best aunt," she promised, cradling my belly. "And when I'm ready, if I'm ever ready, I hope I can be half the mom you're going to be." The hospital investigation cleared me completely but opened questions about Nora's activities. She'd accessed the system multiple times over several months, always looking at my records and schedule. The obsession ran deeper than we'd realized. Lana relocated to another state, finally accepting that Callum was never coming back. Before she left, she sent a letter apologizing, admitting Nora had manipulated her desperation. As for Nora herself, the legal threat scared her enough to back off. But the real consequence was losing her family. Callum cut contact completely. Bianca limited interaction to holidays only and with strict boundaries. Even extended family members, upon learning what had happened, began to distance themselves. If you've experienced anything like this, if you've ever been manipulated, threatened, or isolated by people who should have supported you, please know, you're not alone. Your voice matters. Sharing your story isn't just healing, it might be the lifeline someone else desperately needs. If you're in the middle of something like this right now, stay strong. Gaslighting, emotional blackmail, and coercion can make you question your reality and your strength. But the truth is, you are not weak. You're fighting a quiet battle every day just to protect your peace, your sanity, and your future. And that kind of strength? It's powerful. You don't have to face this alone. And if you made it out, tell your story. Because you never know who might hear it and feel a little less alone.